And then, yeah, so we're setting up shop here, and I'm doing some tech stuff. We're trying to set up the homestead, and I got myself into this political stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill this with a little bit of time by sharing a couple little videos, a little bit more personal about me, and kind of what pushed me to get behind running as an independent. I was approached by the PPC, great party. They're doing good things. There's a lot of people working hard in that party, all levels on that party. HQ, you got your plate full. 338 ridings to orchestrate is a lot of work. However, I'm an independent at heart, and I also I object and I'm against party whips and party platform. I think that's where democracy dies. When we actually have our ideas and our needs move up, they get stopped by the platform and the whip. So even our local MP, if he wanted to or she wanted to do anything that's against the party platform, it's a no-go. So I felt strongly that the only way to represent the people of Yellowhead properly and fully was to do it as an independent. In that way, I can go in there and give the voice of Yellowhead and not the voice of the party. And it also gives me the ability to work with all parties, because, of course, it won't be a fully independent house, but being independent means I can work with all parties. I don't have the stigma of being from the other party, which does help me in two ways. One, it helps me do some unity and bridging if there's some work around that that's necessary, and it also helps me do some oversight and make sure that I'm asking questions, the tough questions, because there are some tough questions to be asked and some very tough answers to listen to. So by being a true independent, and when I say a true independent, I don't mean one that left a party to become independent or was kicked out of a party and become independent. I mean, you ran as an independent, you went in as an independent, and you truly represent just your riding, not the national platform and not the party. So oversight, accountability is something that an independent can bring to the House that I think is unique, that other party members can't do. Because quite frankly, when you're in a party and your government is in power, you're either going to be a cabinet or a backbencher, and you're there for the votes. We see them whipped together. They vote along party lines. They're there for the sound bites. Every once in a while, an MP will get a sound bite, be able to stand up and say something. But when it comes to actually pushing agendas, checking out information, pushing for inquiries, individual MPs don't have a heck of a lot of power inside of a party. If they want to stay in that party and if they want to be able to be elected again, they don't fight too hard. I get it. They're humans. They're trying to stay in that position, but none of that was attractive to me. I do understand that independent is the hardest road possible. I don't have a built-in base. The PPC offered me a good base. In my riding, PPC finished second last election. So it was a good base. It was a good base for People's Party here in the riding of Yellowhead. However, for all those reasons I just explained, I couldn't accept their offer to become their candidate in waiting or the CEO of the riding. But again, I wish them all the best and the best of luck. We also have a wonderful member of the Maverick Party in our riding. He's actually quite good. Got nothing bad to say about him. He's working hard. He's doing the right things. But I wish him all the best because that's still a party. And I do think the best option is independent going forward. Because under that, I can go in there with a strong mandate from the people of Yellowhead, not from a party at all. And I can promise then to the people of Yellowhead that my intention the entire time is to make them sweat and squirm, because that's how we can keep them honest. Think about it like a referee in a hockey game, right? You have the red and blues against each other here. And then if we didn't have referees blowing the whistle, calling the penalties, and just being there, just a presence of a referee on the ice will keep it cleaner. We won't be able to get rid of all of it, but at least we can then utilize penalties and whistle blowing and make sure that we are looking at and trying to keep them honest. Because I do believe that a party system can work, because there are national issues and you do need national unity and you do need national consensus on stuff. So I do understand and see the purpose of the party system, and I do believe it can work. as long as there's some good oversight and accountability, and there is at least a level trying to keep them honest. The Canadian system, we actually have independence built in. So an independent is already part of the system. We can run and sit as an independent. In fact, the rules are slightly different around financing for independents for some reason. Um, we can get into that in another episode, but it does mean it's difficult for independents to financially support themselves, but that's no problem. We'll get through that barrier as we go ahead. But it does mean that our system does accept and has an ability for independents to be there, have a voice, and have impact. Now, why would our system have that? Well, the oversight accountability. From the very beginning, we always knew that third-party independent oversight is the only way you can get true oversight. The parties don't like that, of course, because they would rather just, trip somebody and spear somebody and slash somebody from time to time and not be called on those penalties. They prefer to function that way. Remember, they have a whip. So that's kind of how they have a mindset. They do whip. So what that ends up meaning is independents are really the only option, and that includes third-party parties. So all the other parties, they're still parties, and they still have whips. So they still have the same problems there. Yes, they are a little bit more opposition-y in that they can, voice opposition to whoever is in power. But as we've seen with the NDP and the Liberal partnership that they've openly announced, that's not really a thing anymore. We don't really have third-party opposition unless we get some PPC in there or something like that. We really don't have some third-party opposition. So truly, the only good way to give third-party oversight is independent, true independent. So someone who went in as an independent. It's hard. I know it's hard. It's going to be difficult. The stars have to line. The message has to get out. My mug has to be everywhere. I have to shake a lot of hands, and I'm cool with all that. Because once we accomplish that, we're going to have that oversight that we need. And we'll also have an ability to have both sides have a way to talk to each other, or they kind of, on some issues where they're just opposed to each other so vigorously that you will need a third party, kind of like a mediator, to work on it. And that's why I think don't send just one. You should be sending a couple independents per province. 24 or 36 independents in there of 338 would impact the entire House. The entire House would act a lot better. They wouldn't be so quick to pull some of the old sneaky games, and they probably would proceed a little bit more cautiously. So our next government, likely Conservative, right? Pierre's gaining steam, and it could go that way quite easily. But in order to make sure that he himself doesn't turn into the complete opposite, but the same, which is mandate, going to just push it through, going to do things. You still want that check and balance in there. You still want that accountability and oversight there, because what we truly would want is a good, strong next government, the 45th Parliament, whoever it is. We would want them to be a lot stronger, a lot more transparent, and really repair the distrust that a lot of people have in the current government. And I believe an independent can do all of that. An independent group, like a group of independents, will do that for you. And also, if you ever get this message, I think if you really think about it, a group of independents would actually benefit you in your next cabinet or your next parliament. And why? Well, because we're going to be demanding some accountability from the last one. We're not pleased with a lot of the things. We have an inquiry, unprecedented, a whole bunch of things. There's going to be a lot of accountability that's going to be demanded of the next government. And look, I think it'll be difficult for him to just straight up by himself go to the jugular of the Liberal Party and try and clean up and hold people accountable, because it would look partisan. That would be the argument the entire time. It's a partisan move. They're just doing that for partisan reasons. That's reason number one. Reason number two would be because it's a two-party system and they don't actually go for each other's jugular. They're always just government in waiting, and then the other one's government. They don't want a third to ever take over, and because that means one of them have lost support. So truly, the parties, although they are technically supposed to be opposition, they're more back-to-back fighting than they are front-to-front fighting. because ultimately what's the biggest threat to them is another group replacing one of them. So there's this mutual agreement where they don't actually really go for the jugular of each other. So that's where I think, Pierre, I think where an independent group can help you out there, because the independent group can push that oversight and accountability stage harder than you can. Even though you may want to push it really hard, you understand that if you push hard, they're going to push hard on you next time. And we all know you're going to try and avoid that. But let the independents go in there, do the dirty work. Happy to do it. We'll go in there and ask the hard questions and seek the right documents and expose properly. Hey, Sandy, you agree with that? So you think a few independents should get in there? I do too. I also think that the territories should become provinces. They've been put on the back burner far too long. They don't have enough representation in the House. They only have one each. That is insane. They can't even have a split issue in their territory and be represented. For example, they have to follow one person, and if that one person has, they fall on this side of the agenda or the mission or an issue, the other half is not represented at all. There's not even an opportunity to. So I think they should have 3 seats in the House minimum, but we can get back to that one later. But yeah, I would like to see Canada become more unified. I think independents can help do that. And if you indulge me, I'll just go play my little campaign video for you. Actually, I don't think I can. I think we're running out of time. I was talking too much. The stream's up and we're about to start. But sorry about that. That was kind of more of a political, hello, I'm Jason. This is kind of what's driving my mission to go from a private life to a public life. It wasn't a choice that I wanted to do, but I did feel compelled. I do have young children. I am worried about the impact on them in the future if a particular agenda keeps going. Actually, I think I have enough time to speak about that one. So Quebec passed a bill, I think it was Bill 15, C15, Bill 15, which took away parental rights. So parental rights in Quebec are now gone. The state now has the right, and what they've done is they've given the right to the child, and then the child is represented by the state. So the state will determine when a child needs a decision made for them. So they get to decide, and then they also get to be the ones that make the decision for them. The parent is now taken out of the loop. That scares me because, well, we homeschool our kids. That's one thing. And somebody in the future may determine that homeschooling is probably, in their opinion, they're wrong, but in their opinion, might not be the best thing for my child and decide to intervene. If we have mechanisms in place in Alberta and Canada where the state decides what's better for my child, I think that's a big mistake. And that would be a day that wouldn't be fun for all involved. If I had to approach or, be faced with the idea that my kids either had to go into public school system or had to get something put into them or anything along those lines because the state decided that. And if I don't go along with that, then I may lose my access to my children. That's my driver. So Quebec is starting to do that. We see the federal government doing things like allowing children starting in March 2023 to decide to end life, get in end of life care. So I can see where this is headed, and that's why I definitely want to be in the 45th Parliament to try and pull back on this agenda. Get away from our kids, stay away from certain subjects in school that should never be there. Certain issues with our children shouldn't be issues with our children. I want to go and make sure that I can do whatever I can to limit the government's power on the lives of our children that shouldn't be there. I have to. I'm cautiously concerned about them, and that's my driver. So that's why I went from a private introvert nerd who loves to watch silly YouTube videos about circuit boards and things like that and how they work. Ben Eater is one of my favorite followers. So if you go and watch him, you'll know what I mean. I'm a nerd, but I enjoy it. But I'm going to put all that aside, do things like this, stream to you all day, go critique the government, go in there and look for these problems and have some input on it and do what I can to get in there for the next parliament and make some changes. So thank you very much for letting me spend that little time to get that out. I haven't had an opportunity to do that, and I think it was kind of time for people to have an opportunity to kind of meet who the Jason is behind here. I'm more than just a handsome guy. I am a nerd, and I have a passion for my children, and I don't put my head in the sand. So because of that mind mapping thing that goes on in my head, I can see how the government is taking steps towards becoming parents to my children, and I'm not cool with that. Oh, Connie, thanks for the bio, and it was good to know a bit. And thank you, Connie. And that's kind of what I wanted to get out there. You know, I don't want people thinking anything that's not true about me, and they kind of wanted to know a bit more about me. I've had some people ask, so I thought here's a good opportunity. We didn't have a video to share this morning, so share me. So thank you, Connie. Oh, cool. Nice to meet you, Sandy. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm also a pilot, so I have a lot of fun doing that. I did that because honestly, I moved away from the city and I was trying to keep my law stuff going. So I was going to commute to Toronto often, and I did. So I used a plane to fly to Billy Bishop and do some court stuff. But it's also a ton of fun, great freedom. And to anybody who's ever thought I wanted to do it but didn't, do it. Okay, I did it late in life. It takes 60 hours or so of flight training, and then you'll be a pilot. You'll be able to fly on your own and enjoy it. It's a ton of fun because as soon as you start, you forget the whole world. All you're worried about and thinking about is making sure you get to your destination safely and you handle all the problems. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.
And but yeah, 2025, that's really really far away. So maybe quickly, I was interested, like, how did you come to that decision to pursue that strategy compared to other strategies, given that it's, you know, so long from now?
Well, that's the long-term strategy. So that is one that will give us 4 years or 5 years of efforts inside the house. All the other strategies also are valid, you know, lawsuits, social media, pushing from the ground, protest, reaching out to the MPs, lawyers, doctors, political pressure. All of those are also valid. And I think we should never stop any of the different fronts. Use every front you have as long as it's legal and peaceful, but use them all. But the long-term one is, well, we're going to have a lot more impact if we have a key to the back door of the parliament and an office on the inside and a seat in the house. That's by far going to have the biggest impact.
But right now there are independent. I mean, not many.
No, there's 2 independents that are falling out of the party. Those are not true independents. So there's a very big difference in my mind between someone who received the label of independent because of a party fallout versus someone who went in as an independent. There was the platform from the beginning, and they've always been independent. It's very, very different. We don't put in independents. It's very rare. But the 2 that we have right now, one from Spadina, he fell out from the Liberal Party. Some corruption around him, some bad things around him. The Liberal Party tossed him out. He's trying to get back in. And then the other one, which is in Quebec now, recent, he decided to leave the party. So when Pierre won, he decided to leave. Those, I don't consider those true independents by the function in the political party or political system, because they are just falling out. They're like fallen angels from the party.
But even if they're true independents, their role is still quite limited in terms of voting, right? Because their vote basically doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. I disagree with you there, Etienne, and I'm going to push back hard on that one. If you're looking at just straight up votes of being one of 338, oh, sure. Okay. If you just want to look at straight up numbers, 1 vote out of 338, it seems meaningless. Right. But that's not the only function of an independent. Calling them out, standing in question period and being very vocal, going to their doors, knocking on them, meeting with them, working with them to find out ways to bridge some of the problems that they're having, being the referee on the ice, blowing the whistle loudly, having MP powers for investigation and being able to get access to documents and stuff that is not public, being able to establish committees, even privy committees, where we have to sit down and go through private information. All of that becomes available immediately as tools to an independent, well, any MP. Those are all tools of an MP. But what allows the independent to take it a step further is basically MPs have to get permission from their party to do anything like that. Any rogue MP who goes out and starts to establish some sort of initiative on their own, it happens, but they get quashed pretty quickly, because unless they have party support, they're considered rogue and maverick. And that is not part of how parties manage their MPs. And that's exactly why they have whips. And that's why they always utilize whips, is because anytime you have a MP go slightly rogue, it looks like the party is not unified. It looks bad against the party, and they start looking at national optics versus the individual regional issue that MP might be bringing forward. So, for example, our MP, he's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. I've met him. I've talked to him. He's a really nice guy. But let me just give you an example. We want the oil to flow. Okay, this is Alberta. We want the oil to flow. We get the oil flowing properly, and jobs are great for Yellowhead. So Yellowhead really would like to see pipeline, XL, a whole bunch of things being brought forward and being worked on and fought for. He can't. Even if everybody in Yellowhead said to him, hey, let's go push this issue forward. It's not a national issue that's supported. There's no support anywhere else other than Alberta for it. Therefore, the Conservative Party national mandate and platform doesn't have room for it. And what's he going to do? Get together with a few other conservatives and push hard? He can't. And that's where the independent is not restrained. We're not restrained in that fashion.
Right, but how confident can you be that you'll be treated seriously? So how do you really? So you mentioned about like initiating a public inquiry, sure. But like, what are the odds that they actually would treat you seriously? Because even with Randy Hillier, we saw in Ontario, and yeah, he's not a true independent because he also came out of Conservative, but he would be mocked. Like he would stand up. I
don't care about that though.
He would say but it still shows you that like to the normies, like they just treated Randy Hillier like he's a UFO for talking about quarantine camps, and it's almost like they're treating him as subhuman. And so I'd be afraid that if you, in the unlikely event you are elected to be a true independent, I'd be concerned that you would not be treated seriously, and you would have more power, as you're correctly pointing out, but it still might be insufficient.
Well, then what's your alternative? Just let another blue backbencher take over?
No, it's just about debating.
Well, that's my point, right?
Yeah, what are the costs and benefits of these different approaches, and try to hash out which ones. Because it's an incredible amount, and you deserve a lot of praise. It's an incredible amount of effort to dedicate yourself. Like, okay, this is 3 years. I don't know when you started, so you deserve a lot of praise. But you know what I mean in terms of cost and benefits. It's always a question of are we really maximizing the value of our efforts in terms of probabilities of having impact. And yeah, I still think the probabilities of me having an impact is tiny, but
I disagree. I think there's ways you can.
But it's good to have these discussions just to try to think of other alternatives, right? Because that's the hard part, thinking of outside the box. Even if you're trying to think outside the box, sometimes you're still overlooking other strategies, and we're still thinking all the time, how can we pivot? How can like in business innovation, right? Like you always have to think, there's potentially ways to pivot to really try to maximize the chance that our efforts are going to have an impact. But I'm sure we'll continue these discussions.
Well, I'd like to kind of respond to that a little bit. I'm glad you brought up business and innovation, because you're absolutely right. That's kind of where we need to do the similar thing in politics. Good news for you. I'm an award-winning business innovator. I won some awards around that. You've got your PhDs and you've got your articles, but I'm an entrepreneur and award-winning. So my mindset has always been innovation. I was even part of the board of Ontario Innovation Center to approve all the grants and stuff like that for companies applying on innovation grants. So I agree with you completely. We got to map innovation into politics, because it's lacking. It's such an old traditional system that has no innovation in it either. Like open meetings, streaming everything. There's a whole bunch of things we can do. I disagree with you wholeheartedly that an independent path is kind of fruitless and pointless. I disagree completely, and I also think that
I didn't want to insinuate that it's completely useless. I was just expressing concerns.
Sure, but let me go ahead and respond to that. So Yellowhead specifically has a history of being a little bit more independent than most other ridings in Canada. Joe Clark came from Yellowhead. He was the one prime minister elected for a little while from the West. He's moved from the Conservative Party to independent, so he's fully independent now because the Conservative Party is no longer the Conservative Party. It's moved too much to the left that kind of just left behind some independent people. And my particular riding is very, very impacted by basically everything you had on your chart. And they are not pleased with the response from the current MP. My riding will not vote in anybody else but a blue or an independent. They won't put anybody else in. So if they do want a voice that's a lot louder than the current one, I think there's only two paths. The first path is get behind an independent, whether it's me or someone else, and that will do it. The second path could be to convince the Conservative Party to drop whips, party platform, and adopt independent MPs, true independent MPs, so that the debates happen inside the party and it's not a platform. And if the party can learn how to truly do debates with independent MPs as part of the team, then I think we're going to be golden. I think we could do a lot more work by fixing the party itself to be more modern and more independent. I've written a letter to the CPC. I've even did it to PPC and the Bloc to let them know that if you started to do independent MPs, Canada would get behind your party a lot stronger because Canada's tired of whipped MPs. Now, whether they do it or not, like I sent it to them, I'm just a little guy. We'll see. But
Right.
But if we don't start having MPs that actually have independent voices, whether they're party affiliated or otherwise, we're just going to have more of the same, which is exactly what you identified is useless MPs. They can't do much. And that's a challenge to me. And I recognize that. And because I don't have an avenue where I have an MP that I think will do anything, I'm going to try and be it because what else do I have?
And what about using business innovations to help your path?
Yeah, well,
we can talk about that next time. But
yeah, we
like,
can talk about that more about
the social psychology.
Yeah.
Like we need to use business innovation to awaken more people. Because again,
well, the stream is back. So I just want to put that up.
Because until there's enough people that are awoken, they're not going to consider independence seriously enough. So I just had an idea of like trying to use business innovations and social psychology techniques to try to awaken more people.
Well, maybe they need to see one. Maybe they need to see a true independent and what they can do. Maybe just an example of one is enough to wake Canada up. Maybe we only need a couple in this next election to show what it's for. But I agree with you. The parties have done a great job over 100 years convincing people that independents are a wasted vote. They've done a great job because that's how they kept themselves. But yeah, let's try this again. Everybody, that was a wonderful chat. Here we are. The afternoon started. Etienne, we'll chat soon, okay?
The commission is reconvened. La commission reprend.
But I could share, actually, if you don't mind, because I do have you, what I will do is show you, and hey, Prairie, you actually will get to see some of my property. I'll show you a little video. I do have a little video that I can share with you about me, what I'm doing. My kids are in it too. Let me share that with you. Just give me a second. You guys are so awesome and you're sticking around. Why not? Let's see what we got here. All right. So here's my channel. Let me just pull it up. Wow, it's a big screen. Okay, so I did a video for my campaign. My kids are in it. A bit further. Oh, and if you want to see some of my personal stuff, because I'm a pilot and I did some of that stuff, private pilot, that's kind of neat. Here we go. So enjoy. Hello, Yellowhead. I am Jason Levine, and I'm running as an independent candidate for our next federal election. And I would like to introduce myself. I now live near Breton, where my wife and I are building our new homestead and schooling our 2 young boys. I am worried that my boys will not grow up in the same Canada that I did. The times are changing, and lately, not always for the better. Before moving back home to the prairies, I was a serial entrepreneur in the Greater Toronto area, learning the law, building businesses and developing award-winning technology. I would like to take these skills and do my part to help my neighbors, so I'm starting a long road to Ottawa. I'm Jason Levine. I'm the CEO and Chief Nerd specifically. It's very strong and engaging, and it's exploding. So the talent here is exploding. It's fantastic to see.
Please welcome Sadia Musafar, President and COO, and Jason Levine, Founder and CEO of Black and White Logic, to accept this award.
Thank you to Jason and to Rachel and to
Any device, anywhere, anytime. That's the fantastic part of the cloud.
Jason Levine's Connect to Fans, an internet startup he co-founded, is a great example of a new cloud-based business.
Yellowhead, the last several years we've all been working hard together to get through the tough times. Our federal government has not been doing a great job of listening to us. I am fighting for our farmers, our truckers, the silent majority, the fed up, and all of my marginalized neighbors. I am calling for new protections and reclaiming of rights for all Canadians of all ages. We need independent provinces under a new unified agreement with Canada. And to further protect Canadians for generations to come, we need parliamentary, statute, and regulatory review, rollbacks, and reform. Come join me online at yellowhead.vote. Thank you, Yellowhead. And that's me. That's me, my little tractor, my beautiful kids, young boys. Yes, I homestead, and yes, we homeschool, and yes, we take care of our family every single day. I saw that you guys are giving me a tremendous amount of support. And Norman Patterson, I'm sorry I haven't met you before, but thank you for joining us and thank you for subbing. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, wow. Railroaded. Annie. I really do want to connect with Albertans. I do want to connect with all the Canadians. My goal is to get the message out that we can make change. We can win elections. We can do this. We can make change in different ways. I say we keep every front going until we get the Canada back that we grew up and loved, and we make it the Canada we want to leave for our children. I have 2 young children, and I think that's important, very important. Love you too, Railroaded. You now become a good friend. Hope right there. Thank you. Listen, this is not easy. I'm an independent. The PPC wanted me to join, but after my due diligence, I need to stay independent. It's the toughest road possible, but once we accomplish it, we're going to have the most power possible for Yellowhead, for Alberta, and for Canada. Not having a party whip, not having a party platform, and being able to speak the voice clearly and articulately, what a word to screw up, right? Is important to make sure that our voice is heard properly in the House and we can actually do things. Independents are not a waste of a vote. That's what the party wants you to believe. It's actually the thing that the party fears is true independence. And these are people who are voted in as an independent. This is what the party fears the most, because we would have the power that they have, MP power, to open up the cabinets, look at files, look at things, call committees, do investigations. They really don't want independents in there doing that, because obviously there's a lot to expose. But they can't stop us. So if we can get some independents across Canada supported, get them voted in, we can work together to expose and make the truth, expose the truth, fight the power, and make sure that Canada knows. Ellen, is that for the video? You're awesome. Nice, James. Thank you so much. You are all awesome. Norman, nice to meet you. Wow, look at you all. You're making me feel just kind of special right now. Thank you. I do appreciate that. And it's Friday, so we're going to enjoy ourselves. Speak to your. Absolutely. Four. And that's the biggest problem, Railroaded. And let me just explain to you how the whip works. The whip's job is to give the MP all the tools that they need to turn around and whip the people. The entire purpose of the whip is to teach the MP how to follow the party platform, and more importantly, how to convince others that it's the right thing to do. So the whip's job is to teach an MP how to become a whip, to whip the people. So when we go to the MP and say, hey, we need X, Y, Z, they're a little bit more prepared to tell us to go away. That's unfortunate. That's not the way it's supposed to be. And an independent is the only way to do that, because the independent doesn't have party support, and they have to win every vote, earn every vote, maintain every vote, and then prove to them once you've gotten it that it was well placed and do it again. Independents have that tough road. Nobody else does. And I think if we can pull this off, get a few independents, maybe 2 per province, that would be a heck of a start in the 45th Parliament. And Pierre, he's likely going to win. You know, it looks like we're heading conservative. We should also keep him honest and clear the path out of his way as well. The Liberals are going to be very difficult. The Liberals are going to have some accountability on them. And I think an independent can absolutely open those doors and keep them all honest or more accountable than just straight up conservative. I think conservative should team up with independents to give accountability like no other we've seen in Canada. Domesticated Arcavia, really? Hey, who are you? Chase Hold. First time I saw you. Nice. Welcome to the chat. You missed all the fun part of slowly, but welcome to the chat. Learn to get on Discord. Well, here's the thing, Railroaded. I'm a nerd, so you know it's not going to be a technical issue for me. It's just going to be I have to get to it. So let me see what I do this weekend. Get on Discord and set that up. I've kind of always wanted to. Toe party lines. Yeah, that's what happens with parties. So, and it's also a national party line, right? If you're dealing with the national party, it's a national party line. So it has to be national issues. It has to be stuff that Toronto and Montreal are behind. So that was what makes it very difficult for the West to actually have big issues on the platform for any national party. They kowtow to Ontario and Quebec. We know that. Yep, Clay, 100%. Agreed. It sucks. It sucks. And I really do think that's where democracy goes to die. It dies at the whip and platform level because you don't have an input on the platform. And if you try to have an input on a platform, the whip will get you. Earn the vote, 100%. Even when they offer me, the PPC offer me their base, 15% of my neighbors voted PPC last time. That was second for our region. Conservative, it's a strong conservative region, but 100%. Nobody here is really happy with the Conservatives. Everybody I speak to wants change. And Yellowhead has a history of voting in Reform and Independent. Joe Clark was the PM from Yellowhead, and he has now turned independent. So we do have a lot of independent minds out here, which is great. And yeah, I just have to reach them. Big strong, we go Railroaded. You're awesome. Earn and respect that vote. It's the only way to do it. And let me just tell you a story. So the PPC, I sat down and I talked to them, and the one of the major deal breakers, as opposed to just the platform and the whip, was they have this thing called the leader clause inside of their candidate contracts. And what that says is at any time, Maxime, or the leader, but it's Maxime right now, can decide to basically take the seat from a candidate. So if I was to build up and go shake hands and really build up support here, at any time he could take the seat. There's a process, but it's not true. Like the process is he challenges for the seat and then there's a member election, but I can't imagine anybody ever voting against a leader for just some little guy in a riding, because that would split up and destroy the party. Can you imagine a leader vote? He wants to take a seat, but the party itself votes against the leader. Well, that would destroy the party. It would be gone. So for that reason alone, there's no chance I would win that vote. They wouldn't give me an exception to it. So I asked, look, can you at least exclude me from that clause? And then I will go ahead and build up the base. But they said no. Now, my fundamental problem with that, and it's not really that I'd be replaced and then that, it's that when I'm shaking the hands of my neighbors and I'm looking in the eyes of the farmers and the oil workers and everybody else that's around here, and I'm looking in their eyes, and I say to them, I'm here to run for you. Well, I can't do that if I know there's a chance that Maxime can just take it, and then Maxime's their representative. So I couldn't. That's not who I am. I'm not wired that way. I can't pander. I don't look in people's eyes and tell them things that aren't true. So I just simply couldn't do that. For some reason, they didn't understand that. They thought that I was weak for that. But either case, they still offered me the CEO. They still wanted me to be the candidate after I launched my campaign as an independent. So they do recognize that I do have a potential to reach people and connect with people. And that's what I have to keep doing. So I turned my back to them. I said, good luck to you. I do think that there should be some PPCs that win. So there should be some PPC in the next House, but it won't be Yellowhead, because I am going to win. I plan to win this. I think we need a strong representative for Yellowhead. We have a really nice man, homesteader as well. Him and I relate quite well. I've spoken with him a couple times. He's a really nice man, but he is a backbencher. He has no weight. He has no way to push Pierre or anything like that. So no, I think it's time that we sent somebody with a more independent voice. Explaining politics to a bunch of well, here's the thing, Railroad. What I'm trying to do is get the reputation of somebody who's willing to fight. I'm not paid for this. I'm not on anybody's payroll. I'm not a government employee yet. So I'm doing this all because it's a passion and it's a desire of mine. And I hope that when enough people, come across these videos, I'll make a lot more where I'm interviewing people that they can learn about me that way. It's going to be hard to shake every hand in Yellowhead. From tip to tip, it's 5 hours of driving, so it's a very large riding. So I'm looking to leverage social media and I'm offering myself up, exposing myself up, and I hope that that's a good way to start connecting to a lot of people. 10-4, let me send you an invite. Cool. Okay. So we'll get into this Discord thing. Thank you, Railroaded. But you're welcome to share it. It's for Hunk Army. Cool. So I'm not sure how you're going to reach me, but if you want my email, it's jason@yellowhead.vote. You can also send me messages through my website at yellowhead.vote, or connect with me on Twitter and let me know it's you. We'll make this happen, Railroaded. Thank you very much. Cool. All right. Well, we're 8 minutes left. I could play one more video for you. It's more personal. Let me see what I got for you. It's more personal. Yeah. I could play a funny one. You'll love it. You'll all love it. So this is genuinely, this is the moment that I saw on TV that gave me the motivation to run for office. This is the exact moment. It happened on, I think it's February 22nd, 2022. Some of you might recognize this moment, and some of you are going to cringe because it's starring your favorite person. But this is genuinely not a lie. This is a 100% the reason why. Railroaded, Jason Yellowhead. Yep, that's me. Yellowhead.vote. That's me. Dang, did someone catch the email? It's all good. It's all good. No, it's all good. If you want to email me, that's fine. All right. So no joke, everybody. This is the reason. This is the moment. This is the moment where I said to myself, okay, I'm going to have to do something more than just be complaining and upset that this is happening. Because what he says here was, it boiled my blood so much that I had no choice. I really had to do something. And this is the only time that Prime Minister said something that I actually agreed with. And you'll see what I mean.
Do you have any regrets as to the way you managed the situation for the last 3 weeks? Some people have criticized you and said you didn't want a dialogue with them. Response: there are always things that need to be reflected on after any crisis or any measures that are taken. I think that we were very clear at each stage that the way to influence political policy and to change things in a democracy is not through unlawful means, occupations that hurt fellow citizens. It's through political action, going to vote, like Canadians did 6 months ago. And also, if you really want to change things, well, run in the next elections. Encourage Canadians to support you so that you can make change. And that's how a democracy works.
Exactly. So he was right about that. And Ellen, you're bang on. And yes, we have the bobblehead in the back railroaded. That thing's annoying.
And we all knew it was coming, but we hoped it wasn't. And I thought I was going to make it through this, but I'm not. It hurts.
There you go. So you get his little cry at the end, because that's exactly what he's going to feel like when we take over this parliament, when we win this election, and he's gone. He's not going to make it. So I thought I would share that with you. That's kind of my little coming out as a politician video. But genuinely, it was his call to us that said, if you don't basically en français, basically he said, if you don't like what I did here, you think I did the wrong thing here, become a candidate and run against me. So, all right, that's exactly what we need to do. He was absolutely right. That is exactly what we have to do here. And I don't think it's going to be just the Conservative Party as the option to do here. I think Conservative Party has a big role to play, and they're definitely going to do a lot of work in the next House, but they can't be alone. And I don't mean that they need someone to help them with the work. We need independence in there to make sure we just don't get a second version of Trudeau. I don't mean that he would be pushing the woke stuff or anything like that. I just mean what we don't want is a single government who's not even cooperating or working with anybody. And that's what an independent can help do. We can keep them accountable, give them oversight as well, but we can also bridge some of the unity that they can't do simply because they're foes. So anyways, I think Pierre, as much as he's got this agenda to help fix things, somebody's got to keep him honest. So the oversight on him as well. And also to assist him with some of the bridge building and unity that he can't do. So that's you. Okay. Is that you? It's Twitter. So I'll also go follow him there too. Yeah. Do you like how she was just bobbing away? The bobblehead? My goodness. That bothered me when she was doing that in real time too. Jason, wait. Do I speak French? No, I don't speak French. Parlez-vous français? No, not really. I did live in Eastern Ontario for a bit, close to the Quebec border. So that's where I lived before here. I have a French name, and I've always wanted to. But no, I grew up on the prairies, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. Very little French there. But I picked up une petite in Ontario just because of the people around me. They need to be kept honest 100%. And that's why you want somebody in there that even has the power to go into committees and show up at meetings. Like when you're an MP, there's a certain level of power that you have. And I think that's what our side needs, because we don't have it. One of the things I heard a lot about from people I talked to is they've reached out to their MP. Sometimes they get dialogue with them and communicate with them, but no action. Nothing happens. And there's no surprise, because individual MPs in a party have very little power. They have very little power. That's what the whip's for. So yeah, if you want to keep them honest, you have to put in a referee. Can you imagine watching a hockey game and there's no black and white stripes on the ice? Like none? Can you imagine what it would be like? Would it be entertaining? Could you even watch it? Well, that's what we have in our parliament. We have them calling their own fouls, blowing their own whistles, and I don't even think they know how to use a whistle. So let's send some people in there for the purpose of doing that. The sole purpose of an independent is to do that. So let's do it. That's all I got to say to that one. I'll help anybody that's an independent anywhere else across this country who wants to learn how to put up a website, get involved. What do you have to file? What paperwork do you need? Pro bono. I'll help anybody that wants to get in as an independent, start going. There's a little bit to it, but it's doable. Anybody can do it, and they should. I think the more independence that we have available, being supported, the better chance we have at cleaning up some of the house. And no, we don't need to destroy our system and rebuild it in order to fix it. We can definitely fix what we got. Yep, we need to stop paying them. Oh, cool. Railroaded. I have a good MP. Cool. But I think he has to toe the line. See, look, we saw Lightfoot, Joel Lightbound of the Liberal Party. He came out and he had a press conference before the EA was voted on, and he was against it. And he flat out said, look, I'm against it. There was, I think, 3 other Liberal MPs kind of hanging around him during that time. All of them voted for it. Not a single one of them voted against it. And that's the party line. That's the whip. That was it. Whip in action. We saw, I think it was Lightbound. We saw him come out, be brave, and we were very surprised. But that was a moment that we thought maybe this dam is cracking. Maybe the Liberal Party does have some conscience in it. And it turns out they do have a little bit, but not enough to stand up because he voted for it. He didn't vote against it. Who's your MP, Ellen? Well, she'll have to almost dox herself. Barrett. Cool. So look, there are some good ones, but so here's something I sent to the Conservative Party. I'm just a peon, so they probably ignored me. But if the Conservative Party decided to modernize their party and get rid of platform whip and encouraged independent thinking on MPs, and instead of having closed meetings for committees to come up with a platform, you have open debate within the party. And you keep your platform fluid so that it changes as the issues change and as the demands change. You can have generalizations about your platform, but you should always keep it fluid by debate through independent MPs. And if they were to do that, I would join them. I would join them. I think if they had independent MPs and they got rid of the platform, got rid of the whip, and used debate and the way it was supposed to be all along, representation, then they would be a modern party and they would kick butt for quite some time. And I also think that would cause all the other parties to follow, Liberal as well, because they would never win another election again if they didn't modernize their party. So if we actually want to change our political system, we kind of want to get one of our parties to grow up and become modern, get rid of some of those old traditional techniques like whipping, and don't be afraid of internal debate and arguments, because that's exactly what we should be doing. We should not be trying to conform every MP to a national platform. Every MP should be bringing their local riding. That's the whole point. So if there's a party that smartens up, maybe we can have a lot more change happen quickly. But I've seen his whip. He's got a new whip. He's got 2 whips, actually. I think he's got a deputy whip as well. So I don't think he got my message. I think he's planning to be pretty traditional, just a younger version of the regular Conservative leader. But that's my take on that one. Sandy Hill County, Grand Prairie, right on, railroaded. You're in Alberta. You're north of me. Well, if you're ever down in this way, you're going through Drayton Valley or a Rocky Mountain or anything like that, you're going through there, give me a heads up. Maybe we'll hook up for coffee or something. Dox me, help me expose a corrupt municipality. Sadie County, Sandal Hills County. Okay. So James, so you agreed with that? Maybe the parties could become modern. One of the parties can lead the way, put the voice back into the party. It's supposed to be representation. So that would be one way to do it without a major change at all. And I don't know why they never did that. Why did they turn the parties into a single voice? All right. Well, there's one thing we can change. Hopefully we can convince a party. And maybe, folks, if what we do is in the 45th Parliament, we have a handful of independents go in there. And if the independents show what an independent can do and actually get some stuff done, maybe the party will smarten up and also embrace independent thinking in the party as well, because it's what should be there. It was a PC Party of Canada. It's now what you know, it's who you know, for sure. Yeah, look, I reached out to this was a weird conversation. So I reached out to my guy, Gerald Soroka, and I was new to the area, and my first attempt after seeing that video from Trudeau was to contact the PPC and the CPC parties to see, you're looking for candidates, what are you guys doing? And I had a good chat with Gerald. But he was taken aback because he's never had anybody, and he said this, he never had anybody reach out to him before and offer their professional assistance in some capacity. I'm a tech guy, so I grew up on Commodore VIC-20 and up. I'm a nerd. This is how I do most of my stuff. I also went to law school, so I finished that up for fun. I did that in my 30s. And I'm also an award-winning, stupid innovation guy. So that means I like to disrupt things. I like to look at things differently, and I like to think outside the box. So I think that was a pretty good tool set for the local government. So I reached out to Gerald and explained who I am, what I'm doing, and what I'm passionate about. And he said things like, "Oh, sounds like you'd be a great fit. I think sounds like it'd be fun." But he had to admit he's never had a phone call like that before, and he had no idea how to integrate or bring me into his fold. Turns out he's not allowed to. They look for political science students fresh out of university or in university, and that's where they do a lot of their recruiting. They don't have an onboarding mechanism for older, experienced people unless they've targeted those people to bring them in. There is no walking off the street to help and join the party. There's no such thing. So basically, they closed the door because of my age and my schooling. I think that will end up being a mistake because I think I had a lot to offer. And if I have to do it through an independent platform or independent candidacy, and then Gerald has to go back to his homestead, well, that's just the way it's going to go. I tried to work directly with them, and they had no onboarding for somebody of my age and my education, which is weird. Don't you want some of the most experienced people you can? Wouldn't you want somebody that has experience building things from nothing? Startups, entrepreneur, law. I didn't get it. So I'll just become the candidate, and I'll do my best to show everybody who I am and why I'm working hard for them, even before I get a single vote.
And if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe and press that notification button to receive more information like this. You can also follow me at yellowhead.vote to stay informed and get the inside scoop. Thank you.